Good morning everyone out there in YouTube land. My name is Jared and this is my channel Mazda B3K. Today's video is a little departure from the automotive. We're going to be installing what's called a hard and soft start kit on the air conditioner of my home. It's a Micro Air Easy Start 368. Without further ado, let's get started. So what is this thing? This is this thing. It's a giant capacitor and some smarts. And what it is supposed to do is, you may have noticed at your home, when your air conditioning turns on, your lights may flicker for just a moment. And then it turns on and you get your air conditioning. Well, what this will do is it's going to fix that, but more importantly, in the method by which it fixes it, it'll make it so it is easier for other devices to run the air conditioner. So air conditioners, or basically anything that has a compressor, when they first start, they have what's called what I call a surge load. There's a moment, it's a tiny moment, maybe half a second, where there's a big inrush of amperage to kickstart the compressor and get it running. And what can happen if, say, you're trying to run your AC off a generator, or say a solar battery, which I do have. It's right over there. Tesla Powerwall. It gets real cranky when you try to run it off that, because of that surge load. And what this is going to do, more specifically, is through adding a little extra juice through this capacitor and through these smarts that are built into it, it's going to smooth out that surge load so it's not so surgy, and it will allow you to gracefully start the air conditioner on, say, a generator, on, say, a Powerwall, which has a maximum 5 kilowatt output, which lets you run these things. It'll give me more capability, basically. And if you're somewhere where you've got a bit like voltage sag, so your lights really blink every time the AC turns on, this would fix that. You'll have to get a model that's appropriate to your tonnage. ACs are measured in tonnage as far as their output. This is, from what I remember, this is a Goodman something or another, and it's a 4.5 ton unit. So because that's a 4.5 ton unit, I had to buy what's called the Easy Start 368. It is Bluetooth enabled, so you can talk to it over Bluetooth if you so desire. But specifically, this is an ASY 368-X72 Blue. And it is what Micro Air recommends for their residential applications where the unit's kind of big. So with all that bibbidi-bobbidi out of the way, let's get into how to actually hook this thing up. She is not happy because I keep smacking my head against her web. Don't know what it is this year, but the golden orb weavers, which around here are commonly known as banana spiders, are enormous, and they're everywhere. So Spider Bro doing spider things. Alright guys, so generally I have a package unit because I live in a mobile home. So all my AC stuff is in this one big box on the outside of the house. So if you have a package unit, the control board, where your control stuff's going to be, is generally a small side panel like this on the unit. And that'll be the one that's got your warnings on it and da-da-da-da-da. And it will be held in with generally a bunch of sheet metal screws. Nothing fancy here. These, I think, are 1/4 sheet metal screws. You can use that, or you can use them in here. You can use a flathead, which is what I'm going to do. So we'll get this off. I've been in here before for this, that, and the other. In the past, I had what's called just a hard start kit. And that's just a big capacitor, which helps. And it did help. This is a much more refined kind of version of that. But somewhere along the way, I don't know if it's when I had my solar installed or if when my energy provider came out and did some work, they took the kit out, which made me sad. All right, here we go. So here's the goods. Now, I will say, if you are not comfortable with doing basic electric work, don't do this. Get someone to install it for you. But here we are. This is essentially the brain of your AC. You're going to have one of these two is a starting capacitor. Oh, actually, this is my, it's right here. I lied. They didn't take it out. This is my hard start kit. Right here. Just capacitor. So this is your starting capacitor, which is supposed to help with that surge load just to get it running. And then that's going to feed into a, I think this is the contactor over here, which is what we're going to need to connect to. And then over here is you got a little, just a little bit of brains right here, not much. This is a pretty dumb unit. So, and then my energy provider is part of a program I'm doing. They ran some extra stuff, so I gave them the permission to remotely cut off my AC or hot water heater in the event of them needing a little bit of energy. They've never had to do it, but it might take $5 a month off my bill. Anyway, at this point, we're going to pull up the instructions provided by MicroAir, and we're going to get some stuff installed. Alright guys, we're going to have to do some work on the capacitor. This is your run or your start capacitor. And we're also going to have to do some work on the contactor. Before you do any of what you're seeing right here, where you're actually touching stuff, turn off your air conditioner at the circuit. Don't just turn your thermostat off. Turn this off at the circuit. There's big power here. You touch the wrong thing, you're going to kill yourself. Turn it off. If you don't know how to turn it off, do not do this. Okay, so what's going to be important is when you look on your start cap that it is labeled. So you can see the green here is labeled as fan. The black is labeled as C, that's probably for common. And then the white is labeled as Herm, which maybe somebody with an AC background can tell me more about that. But we got to hook in some of these wires on the Easy Start to these three various groups of terminals. And you also see this capacitor has plenty of room for activities. There's multiple spades sticking up that you can plug into. Speaking of that, when you get the kit from MicroAir, there's no spades on the wires. They're bare because they don't know what size the spades are going to be on your cap. So you're going to need to get an appropriate sized spade terminal, crimp it on there. So I have this kit, just something off Amazon, and it's got there is a sizing standard on spade terminals. I don't remember off the top of my head on which particular one this is, but it's there. I used my most excellent Klein crimper. Pro tip, I found that with the spade terminals for the blue and below, so the blue and the red, you want to use, well, red you don't have choice, but with the blues you want to use actually the red crimp setting versus the blue setting. The blue setting won't crimp it enough, the red does the trick. Yellow worked like it was supposed to, and it's crimped on there. So, anywho's, just getting you up to date on that. And now I'll be honest here guys, I'm following the instructions from MicroAir. I'm not an HVAC guy, so I just thought I would film this to show the little ins and outs. So if anybody else does this, if MicroAir wants to use this as a video, they can do that too. So I did lie earlier. This actually is my hard start kit. It was still in there, and it did need to come out so that we could actually connect in the micro air kit because it's going to plug in on some of the same places on the contactor and on the starting cap. Alright, so the first thing we did here is it requested that we connect the orange wire of the Easy Start. Okay, we can feed that back in through there. The orange wire of the Easy Start to the Herm on the capacitor, which is here. So like I said, it's stamped on the capacitor that says Herm, connected into one of the Herms. And then it said, chase any wires you have coming off your ground or your common. I'm assuming this is common. And I chased it, and one of these goes back, it's off frame at the moment, spin that around. One goes back into here, which is some smarts. But then the other wire, when I chase it, you can see there, it goes over into this fella here, which is the contactor. And I see it's coming into this. And then this bigger, thicker wire that I have in my hand is the compressor R1 wire, which I'm guessing, if I chase it, yeah, so I'm chasing it, this bigger, heavier wire, yeah, it's going back, let's see if I can show it to you, it's going back up into this exit here, and probably going straight over to the compressor. So we need, and that is on the contactor, that's a ring terminal, so we're not going to plug into that, but the instructions call out that we need to connect another one of our micro air wires. I'll double check that, but another one of our micro air wires, I think the brown one here, into this guy here, the one that's the common wire that's going from the capacitor up into the contactor. I'm going to verify that, and according to this, it will look different if you've got a smaller AC unit versus a larger AC unit, because sometimes there is a quick connect on the contactor, which is what I'm seeing here, versus a large wire that would look something like this that comes into a screw terminal, which is what that is. I'm going to guess this is main power off the breaker right here. So let me go verify that. I'm pretty sure what needs to happen is this guy, let me zoom in a little bit. So I can, there we go. So this fella right here needs to come out and then get plugged in. Okay, we're back, and it took a little figuring, but this is what's up. So I showed you there were two red wires up here, right? This one here goes down to our capacitor. We leave that alone. But the guy who was screwed in up here, he needs to be connected to this brown wire. So this is what we did. He had a fork terminal, cut that off, re-terminate it as a spade. So now, alright, looks like I may have to cut back the plastic weather shielding on this, but this will go into this and it'll lock in. It's unhappy because this is a yellow and this is a blue because the wire diameters are a little different. So I can fix that, but this goes here, and then our white has to go back where the red went. So it's going to go like this, and then we'll screw that back in. So let me modify that weather shielding here, and we'll get all this jammed together.
Next one is
okay, so we have red to brown. As you can see, just cut this back so we could actually slide this together. And then we need to get this white in. It's got to come in, you know, kind of like that because of the way that it is. So start screwing that back in. Now this started out life as a ring terminal, and then we did stuff to it to make it, modify it to make it fit. So I don't quite have everything on hand that I need to have on hand, but this works. So see that? Good and tight. And this is also good. All right, so at this point, as you can see, we're down to just one wire. So after a quick powwow, we're gonna put this in, and I'll zoom in here so you guys can see a little better. There we go. We're gonna send it in on one of the spare terminals here on this side, where we have these other smaller ground wires. So then we slide that on there. It's kind of tight. That's okay. So I'm going to wiggle that all the way on. And at that point, you notice we're out of wires. We're done for this. Now, this is a more simple setup. No, sir. Excuse me, Mr. Gimli. Do not dig under my AC.
Gimli.
My brother's dog is being naughty. Go, Gimli.
Gimli.
You are not the star of the show. Go.
Come
on. Yeah, you flung dirt on my foot. So we get this wiggled all the way in, or it's as in as it's going to go. And then I'm going to take our cap and I'll get it slid just kind of back in here so it's not dangling. And we're going to go ahead and power everything back up and see if it works. And if everything works, you know, then we'll clean up and we'll actually mount the Easy Start unit in its final resting place. Alright, so forgive the noise here, but as you can hear, the system is running and engaged fine. I have a Nest smart thermostat. It's working okay. And this is a Bluetooth unit, so I was able to connect to it over Bluetooth and it's reporting fine. So we got it. This installation is complete. So the last thing that needs to happen here is to actually put these covers back on. There's two that have fallen off. There's this bottom one here, and then the access cover right here. Need to replace those, and I went ahead and I fed, this will spin here, there it goes. As you can see, I fed the Easy Start in through an access hole in the back. So I'm gonna get all these covers back on, get all these wires where they need to be, and then I've got some self-tapping screws, and I'm gonna just self-tap it into the case of the air conditioner. So when the time comes for replacement, you just have to take the Easy Start unit out of the way first and then go from there. So I'm going to button all that up. I'm going to try to get you guys some footage of the actual Bluetooth screen. There's an app you have to download and then it does all the connecting for you. Give some pretty good data about what the Easy Start's seeing, what current voltages and amperages are, where in the learning cycle it is, all that good stuff. And I will see if I can get a screen capture app on my phone so I can show you that. But for now, this is a good repair. Okay guys, this is the status and live data screen for the Easy Start. And the important thing to pay attention to here is the last start peak column, or the row. It's 41 amps. Which seems like a lot. What that measures is the maximum or peak amperage that was experienced on the circuit, the inrush amperage or inrush current, amps or currents amps, when the compressor fired off. And it peaked at 41, which seems like a lot, but the rated locked rotor amps, or what would be the peak amps, is 109 for this air conditioner. So that's a solid over 60 amp reduction when this thing turns on. So that lets me know the system is working as promised. Micro Air says this should knock off about 70%. That's pretty close. And it also has allowed me to successfully run the air conditioner flawlessly from my Tesla Powerwall battery. Alright guys, there we go. I've got the unit mounted. I've got a bunch of these 1-inch sheet metal screws that I've used for this, that, and the other. So just got that in, it's not going anywhere. It's made it so if I need to take this cover off, I will need to take this off, but not a big deal. It's powered and life's good. So I dig it.